Good morning. Welcome to Centers for Spiritual Living Temecula Valley Sunday Service Celebration. My name is Charlene Kussner. I'm a licensed practitioner here at the center as well as a ministerial student. I am here with John Foltz, our music artistic director, and Don Taylor is our practitioner of service this morning. So it's our honor to welcome you all here together this morning, where we come to celebrate with one another, to receive the inspiration and joy of song and of the message, and to really just remember the truth of our being, that we are connected and part of the life and expression of God. And so this morning, as we begin our service, we will move into a moment of centering with our centering song with John Foltz and our invocation with practitioner Don Taylor.
We are one, we are one. I am you, you are me, we are one. And in this unity, we all live in harmony, and peace has come, for we are one, and peace has come, for we are one.
Yes, we are one. I invite you to all go within. And as I go within to the center of my consciousness, I recognize that invisible, changeless essence, that one power, one presence, one intelligence, one eternal essence that I call God. And I know that God expresses itself throughout creation as peace and love and joy and light and justice, freedom and beauty, and so much more. And so I know that it is that divine presence that guides and supports me on this journey called life. And I know that it is that power, that presence, that created me in the image and likeness of itself. It defines my being. And I know that every breath that I take, it is the breath of the divine. And so I know that I am not alone. And I know that I cannot be separate from God. I am one with that divine presence. God is as I am, and I am as God is. And as I know that for myself, I know that for each and every person within the sound of my voice. And so I'm grateful for this day. I'm grateful for this service this morning, knowing that it flows and unfolds exactly the way it should. And knowing that each and every one of us will resonate with the talk this morning by practitioner and ministerial student Charlene Kussner. And so I just bless this day, and I simply let it be. And and so it is.
So it is. Oh, thank you, Don. Thank you. That was a beautiful invocation. Welcome. Centers for Spiritual Living, Temecula Valley, is a open and inclusive community. So we are grateful that you are here with us this morning, sharing in this experience that I just call it love. Love in form, in beingness, because that's truly what we are experiencing on this plane of existence. Being in relationship with one another and remembering that truth of our being, as Don so eloquently stated in the invocation, that we are God made manifest. And so that is my hope, that we remember that message today. So welcome. And so I'm here with Creative Artistic Director John Foltz.
Yes.
And I'm here with our Practitioner Service, Don Taylor. And Jim Willis, Practitioner Jim Willis, is holding light for us. And Pat Clark is on the Facebook Live feed, and so I'm hoping that you're communicating with one another and chatting with one another right now on the Facebook stream. We love to hear from you. We love to be connected in that way when we cannot be in person. So that is a great gift. I think that's such a great gift for us, so thank you. All right, so are we ready to start with our congregational?
We want to do it, yeah, we want to do some singing.
Yeah, let's do some singing.
Right.
So I'm going to have Don come up and join me here.
God is my source, God is my power, God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings, God gives me everything I need. Peace is my source, peace is my power, peace gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings, peace gives me everything I need. Joy, joy is my source, joy is my power, joy gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings, joy gives me everything I need. Love, love is my source, love is my power, love gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings, love gives me everything I need. God is my source, God is my power, God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings, God gives me everything I need.
Woo! Thank you, John. I really felt it when you said love. I was like, oh, that's my superpower. I can feel it. I really felt it. So thank you. Thank you, thank you. Now just floating on that energetic, right, of love and of gratitude and of knowing that God is indeed everything we need. It is our source. It is our supply. I'd like to move into that moment of gratitude together. Let's just float on that energy. Maybe close our eyes and just move into a space of great gratitude for life, for love, for this awareness that God is everything we need. Thank you for that. Centers for Spiritual Living is grateful. Grateful for the source and support that our congregation, our community provides. For the tithes, the blessings, the supports that you honor us with, serve this ministry, serve the Temecula Valley in the good works that we are doing here. It exponentially radiates out into the world, and we are just so grateful for your love, for your support. This year has been tough for many of us, for all of us, and to not be able to gather in person I know has been challenging, but we are so grateful you continue to support us. And so we are able to create this platform and this ministry. And so I just want to call attention to the ways that we can donate and support this center. will be in the Facebook chat. You can go online to our website, hit the donation button, and do it that way. Diane Keyes, our beloved office administrator, is here standing by on the phone if you want to call in and make a donation. And you can certainly mail in any gifts, any love offerings to the center here. And we just really appreciate it, and we're grateful for it. And so let's just take a moment to imagine we are placing that offering right here, and we're just infusing it with that love energy that we feel. And let's say together our offering of affirmation. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am prosperous now.
Blessed always, for the arms of God surround us. Let our joy be so triumphant. We rest in God and say, Amen. Blessed always, for the arms of God surround us. Let our joy be so triumphant that we rest in God and say, Amen. Let our joy be so triumphant that we rest in God and say, Amen.
And so I bless and say thank you for the great offering, for the great gifts that are being received right here, right now. I say thank you, thank you, thank you. And so it is. All right, so at this time, we're going to invite Practitioner Don Taylor back up for our inspirational reading.
Our reading for today is from the book 365 Days of Richer Living by Ernest Holmes and Raymond Charles Barker. And the title of this reading today is I Am Established in Right Thinking and I Cannot Be Moved. I am an outlet for the mind of God. This eternal spirit is always thinking rightly through me, and I rejoice in his perfect action in my consciousness. Knowing this spirit is the cause of my being, I cannot be led into temptation. I am strong in the Lord and the power of his right thinking. Nothing but God and his perfect ideas have power in me, nor can act through me. I stand firmly for the truth. I believe that this is God's universe, and I am willing that God should run his universe. I cease my human opinions and human judgments. I let God act through me. I let its mind make every decision. I let divine love handle all of my personal relationships. I relax and let infinite truth reveal itself in my life and affairs. I have faith that the Holy Spirit of right action is now in full dominion in my consciousness. I decide whether my world shall be heaven or hell. My thinking and feeling alone determine my experience. Therefore, never again will I be tempted to blame outer circumstances and other people for my own wrong thinking. I am permanently established in right thinking, and I cannot be moved. I leave the old patterns of thought, and I now think God's ideas. My life is rich in love, and all my ways are peace, for I am an expression of a mind that never wavers. And so it is.
So it is. Thank you, Don. Thank you. All right. I love that reading. Hey, John.
Hey, what's up? Uh-oh, you've got a notebook.
Yes, I do.
That's...
It's never a good sign, right, John? No, it is a good sign. So I know I have this thing with John a little bit, and I go to the archive sometimes, and we don't really have a bio on him and all that. We all know all that. And I've gone to other musicians in the New Thought teaching, and I've gotten quotes from them and thoughts about John from them, and I've gone to his beloved wife Tina for little insights into John. I'm always sneaking around.
Uh-oh.
So I was thinking to myself this week when I was preparing, I was like, you know who I haven't asked? I haven't asked the people in his life that I think is his most valuable relationship. His kids.
I knew you were going to say that.
His kids. And I thought, of all the roles that John has in his life, and he's brilliant, and he's a fabulous musician, and he knows like 5 million songs in his head.
Maybe not that many.
Which is wonderful. But I know John and his heart space and the loving father that he is, and I know that is his primary role in life. And so I went to Tina, and I asked her help, Tina, his beloved wife, and so this is what we came up with. So I was waiting very patiently for teenagers to respond, Jackson and Addie, and they had a deadline of 9 o'clock last night. So these first tidbits come from John's 4-legged fur babies.
Oh my gosh.
And so Chet says, I love when my dad takes me for an evening walk. That is his favorite thing.
Yes.
And Henry says, I love when Dad plays tug of war with me with my favorite toy.
Yes.
And so that was from those fur babies. Addie came through. She met the deadline, and she came through, and she says, I love it that my dad likes to go with me when I'm driving.
Yes.
She really appreciates
that
he's patient, and he's a really good driving assistant with her. Jackson, sadly, Jack did not make the 9 p.m. deadline.
Jackson.
But I know that he loves his dad immensely.
Yes.
And Tina said that this is the week of their 10 years together.
Yes.
And our first date, and it only happened because John left a love note on my car on a Wednesday night service at the center. And that started the love affair.
It did.
It did.
I know. I know.
So it is my honor and joy to welcome the wonderful John Foltz. Thank you,
Yes,
John.
thank you very much. Yes, actually, the 10-year anniversary of our first date was on Friday. And what I would call our first date, what Tina would call our first date is today, 10-year anniversary. But, well, thank you. That was lovely. Getting my kids. Not surprised that the 17-year-old boy missed the deadline. Love you, buddy. All right.
Somebody's like a love. Only you can start speaking up. No one's gonna hurt you the way the words do when they settle beneath your skin. Kept on the inside and no sunlight, sometimes a shadow wins. I wonder what would happen if you say what you want to say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I been there, everybody's been stared down by the enemy, falling for the fear and dancing, disappearing, bow down to the mighty. Don't run, stop holding your tongue. Maybe there's a way out of the cage where you live. Maybe one of these days you can let the light in. Show me how big your brave is. Say what you want to say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I want to see you be brave with what you want to say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I want to see you be brave. Innocence, your history of silence won't do you any good. Did you think it would? Let your words be anything but empty. Why don't you tell the truth? Say what you want to say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I want to see you be brave with what you want to say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I want to see you be brave with what you want to say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I want to see you be brave with what you want to say and let the words fall out. Honestly, I want to see you be brave. I want to see you be brave. I want to see you be brave.
Oh my gosh, John. Holy cow. That filled this whole space. I was just buzzing. Thank you. Oh my
Thank
goodness.
you.
Oh my goodness. Oh, I hope that I know it must transmute through the airwaves.
I sure hope so.
Yeah, holy cow. I just really felt it. Thank you. Good morning. My name is Charlene Kussner again. And I just want to have a chat this morning. So I just want to start off saying that this morning, it's a chat. We're here together because I truly believe that as sisters and brothers, we are really just walking each other home. We really are on this life experience. We're holding hands together and we're moving through this beingness, this reality of life. And so the name of my talk today is Rising Up into Divine Agreement. And this came into my awareness this month, a couple reasons. Don Miguel Ruiz is on the Science of Mind magazine this month, and his famous work, The Four Agreements, was kind of present with me. And I had some experiences lately which really made me giggle about the silent agreements that we make with ourselves, with other people, with other objects. We do it all the time. And so this morning's chat is not like, I'm not in judgment of being human. I'm human, and I do these agreements all the time. And so as we begin our chat together, I kind of preface my languaging with us. I use the words team a lot because I feel like we really are all on the same team. We're all in this together. And I use the word God to express that power, that presence, that love energy. That is the word that I personally use to convey that feeling. It can be the universe, the spirit. I've said it before, the cosmic muffin. I don't care what word you call it, because really you can't put a word to that feeling sense of God, of spirit. It could be that you have that feeling sense when you're out on a fishing boat, or you're watching a sunrise, or you're riding a horse, or you're watching your kids play, or you're playing with your fur babies. That is the feeling sense that I call God. I hope that we recognize it in our time together here, and maybe we just get a little piece of it when we're together here, right? And so silent agreements. So I came to realize that I make silent agreements with everyone and everything all the time. And what I mean by that is, I'll give you some examples first as we start. So I have a beautiful African violet plant, and it sits on my kitchen windowsill, and it is fully expressed, leaves, beautiful. I love it up, I talk to it, I feed it African violet food, I water it, I talk to it all the time. And every once in a while it starts to flower and I get excited because I'm ready for the purple life to come out of this African violet. And then I get disappointed. I kind of get disappointed and I say to it, I literally caught myself speaking out loud to my plant, I wish you would produce more flowers. I have an agreement with my African violet that it is supposed to deliver robust flowers for me, right? And I've contracted with it, and why does this plant know that it's under contractual obligation with me to produce flowers, right? I was on the plane last weekend. I was traveling and I was on the plane, and it was an early flight, and I'm walking down the aisle, and no joke, I contracted with each small human being on that plane, little persons, that they would be quiet, that they would sleep, that they would allow me to rest during this 3-hour flight. Now, these little people did not understand that they were under contractual obligation with Charlene as she entered the plane, right? But nonetheless, I made agreements with them silently to myself that they would be quiet and allow me to sleep, right? So I know I'm joking around a little bit, but that is true. And I do it all the time, right? And then recently I was reading Stephen Covey, and he relayed a story which I think really hits this home. I was reading Stephen Covey. He's the author of The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And he relayed a story early on in his career. He was a younger man. He was sitting on the train, long day of work, gets on the train. Other commuters are on the train as well. It's kind of quiet, we're reading the paper. We're just probably tired from the day. A couple stops later, a family comes on. It's a father and 4 kids. No problem, they come in, they sit down. The father sits down next to Stephen. Train takes off. Kids start to act up a little bit. They're loud, a little rambunctious. A little while later, now they're getting really rambunctious, and they're traveling up and down the aisleway of the train, and they're kind of disrupting other passengers, and one child knocked a paper out of their hand, and a traveler's hand, and so all the other train passengers are kind of looking at Stephen, that look, like, are you going to say something? Because he's sitting next to the father. So he turns to the father and very graciously says, sir, I noticed your children are kind of acting up a little bit. They're a little raucous in the car here. Is there something we should be doing about that? And the father turns and looks to Stephen and he says, well, I don't know how they're supposed to be acting right now because I lost my wife 2 hours ago and they lost their mother. And so right now I don't know what appropriate behavior is for them. And Stephen, that's like what, boom, right? Like, oh, okay. And so the reason I bring that up is we don't know the interiority of somebody else's experience, right? We don't know what's happening in their lives, in their experience right now. And we make these silent agreements with each other that we're supposed to act and behave in a certain way, and then when they don't follow through with that contractual agreement, we get the rubbing edge. I'm going to do this. That's kind of that rubbing edge, right? We get irritated, we get stressed, we get frustrated because they're not behaving in a way that we think contractually we've already agreed to. But we have no idea what's happening in that person's life. And we're just making these agreements all the time. We're making them in the car, when we're on traffic. Why didn't that person turn when I thought they were going to turn? Why are they driving so slow? Why are they driving so fast? We're making these agreements all the time. It's kind of human nature. And so what I'm hoping from this chat today is that we just have an increased awareness of how we do this. And maybe some of our agreements work for us, and maybe some we'd like to break. Because I know that God is for us. Life is for us. And I personally believe that God is having its experience through me, as Dawn read this morning. You know, God is having its experience through us. And I really don't think God wants to be stressed out, irritated, anxious. I really don't. I know that God wants us to have the fullest life experience, all the love, all the joy, all the abundance, all the freedom, and not to be irritated, not to have rubbing edges. And so I thought it would be important to talk about the 4 agreements. I'm not going to go into this in depth because this is a whole other 2 talks right here. If
It's like
you
a
don't,
month.
It's a month.
It's like a
Thank
month
you, John. It's a
worth of
month of
talks.
talks right here, okay? And if we don't have this book, I just highly suggest that you get it. It's such a great book to have in your toolkit. It's easy to read. It's not overwhelming. And it's really powerful. And so Don Miguel has 4 agreements that he outlines. Be impeccable with your word. Don't take it personally. Don't make assumptions. Always do your best. And why I think this is important is it's good to recognize when we're going to talk about our silent agreements and either breaking them or maybe strengthening those agreements, to just remember these 4 agreements, because being impeccable with your word is so important. That's how we communicate, right? Language. I keep trying to read minds. My wife will attest. I keep trying to read her mind. I haven't gotten there yet. I just can't do it yet. So being impeccable with our word is so important, right? Because it's a way for us to clearly identify what it is that we want, what it is that we want to experience with other people. And so rather than having a silent agreement with somebody, let's be impeccable with our word, and let's be brave, like John just sang about, and speak our word. If I want my beloved to make me a cup of coffee in the morning when she's making hers, it's important for me to not have a silent agreement about it and think that she knows that I want a cup of coffee, and just be forthright and brave and say, honey, I would love it if you would make me a cup of coffee when you make your own. And I'll do the same for you if that's something you want. This is being impeccable with our word, being forthright, saying it out loud, because we're not mind readers. Second, don't take it personally. Oh, my goodness, this one is really important. And so I wanted to read this. I'm just going to paraphrase it, but basically, Don Miguel Ruiz is saying, if you take things personally, it is because you are agreeing with whatever's being said. So, when I know who I am and I know what I am, someone can have an opinion about me, they can make a statement, and when I know who I am, I won't have that rubbing edge, right? Because if I'm taking something personally, I'm actually silently agreeing with them that they're right. When I know who I am, I don't have that rubbing edge about it, right? And I can listen to an opinion about myself, and I can kind of silently smile, right? And think to myself, oh, that's nice, but that's not the truth of me. And then there's no rubbing edge, right? Don't make assumptions. Another key part of silent agreements, because really, we make assumptions and then we take it personally, and then we blame that other person by our reaction, right? So I am making an assumption about what somebody else might be thinking or doing or saying. I internalize it, I make a silent agreement with them that they're making, that I'm buying into that assumption that they're making, and then I react negatively. Whereas if I was just really forthright and even impeccable with my word, I could go to somebody for clarity, right? So not making an assumption about it, being honest and open and authentic, speaking it out loud, and finding out for myself if there's something here that needs to be addressed or cleared, or most likely 99.999% of the time I've made assumptions. Nothing in back of that is true. And the other person says, oh my gosh, John, I didn't mean anything like that. So it makes me smile again about how we create these agreements with ourselves. We make assumptions. We take things personally. And that only adds to our frustration, our own self-judgment, our own self-doubt. And I'd like today to think about shifting that and moving into centeredness and knowing ourselves so that we can just eliminate that rubbing edge. And then finally, Don Miguel says, always do your best, right? So if you know in your heart of hearts that you did your best in that situation, even if you missed the mark. Last week, Reverend Catherine talked about that, right? That sometimes we miss the mark and we need a course correction, and that's okay. That's how we learn, that's how we grow and expand. But when I know that I did my best in that situation, I limit that silent agreement with myself that might be judgment or shame. And then being honest and open with myself if I maybe didn't do my best in a certain situation, and we're all human, that we can make a course correction and say, all right, I'm going to do better next time. I'm going to take this in, I'm going to think about it, and I'm going to do better next time. So I think it's important when we're making new agreements to consider these 4 agreements, to take that in, to consider it. Because we are at choice all the time and we can make new agreements every moment. Because again, I want all of us to experience the fullness of life, the freedom of life. It is all available to us right now. We all have access to it. And I personally believe that as we change our thinking, our life experience changes. And so how do we do that? First is we are aware of our silent agreements, right? What course correction could I take here? What behaviors could I change? Could I have more patience, more ease, more kindness with somebody? Did I speak my word impeccably with someone? Right? Just having a conscious awareness of this situation, of these agreements, allows the opportunity to change it. We can also think about, is this a good boundary for me? I am not opposed to having good boundaries. Some agreements serve us, right? Sometimes having an agreement with myself that I don't overschedule my day, that I allow time for reflection, for self-care, right? And then I hold to that boundary, that silent agreement with myself. Because when I don't, then I'm irritated. I'm irritated with the kids, I'm irritated with my wife, I'm irritated with my coworkers because I didn't honor my own silent agreement that I would take care of myself. So as we have greater awarenesses, we can shift our thinking. And I just love religious science because it continually has science to back it up, which is part of the reason why I gravitated to this teaching in the first place. But I have science to back this up. It's called Hebb's law, Hebb's theory. And what he theorized is that in the brain, there's neural pathways. And the neurons fire together, right? And so he theorized that neurons that fire together wire together, right? So you think of all those spidery neurons in the brain, right? And they're up there doing their thing. And the more they fire together, they wire together. And they strengthen that connection, right? So he theorized that the more we think in a certain way, act in a certain way to reinforce behaviors that reinforce a thought pattern, that those neurons strengthen. So, if we want to break that pattern, let's say we've got a silent agreement that's not working for us and we want to change it, right? We can. Because I'm not saying we don't have thoughts. I'm not worried about this first thought. So this is the first thought right here. Okay? We all have the first thought. I have the first thought. I go into judgment, whatever the first thought is. That might be false belief. That might be not an affirmative thought that I want to move into. So what I want to focus on is not the first thought. It's the second thought. How quickly do I move from the first thought of shame, judgment, fear, doubt, into the second thought, which is spiritual truth about myself, right? Because it's the second thought that I want to keep focused on and spend some attention on. Because when, as Hebb theorized, when you allow the neurons space and focused attention, they will break old patterns of networking and create new ones. And so when we're in the second thought and we stay there a while and we focus on it, we practice it, we create new neural pathways, and essentially we move into that Bible saying of pray without ceasing. That's what I think about. As those thought processes and those affirmations and that second thought creates those new neural pathways, we are praying all day. We are in an affirmative all day. And this is how we create new agreements, and this is how we create our life experience. Because in the science of mind teaching, what we believe is our beliefs, our thoughts, create our experience. Wallace Wattles is a New Thought writer, and he says, it is in our approach to reality, that we create the life we have. It's in our approach. It's in our mental atmosphere. That is how we create our reality. And so when I'm creating solid affirmative agreements, either silently or out loud, I am approaching reality in such a way that I create the experience. Dr. Ernest Holmes, the founder of religious science, says this about it. Why is it that one person's prayers are answered while another's remains unanswered? It cannot be because God is a respecter of persons or has greater consideration for one than for another. It must be that all persons in their approach to reality receive results not because of what they believe, but in spite of the peculiarities of their belief. It must be the way of their belief that makes the difference. The way of their belief that makes the difference. Faith is not a dogma, a creed, nor a statement of being. It is a certain mental approach to reality. It is an affirmative approach as opposed to a negative one. It is agreement as opposed to denial. And that's from Dr. Ernest Holmes' Can We Talk to God? And I appreciate it's a mental approach to reality, right? So when I'm going back to my airplane example, right? So the first thought was, all the children are going to be quiet as I'm walking down the aisle. Every child, right, is going to be quiet. If I move into second thought and catch myself and say, Charlene, I love and bless every child on this plane. I am grateful for this new life, for these new experiences that are being born and birthed into this experience of life. These children who are going to change the earth. If I move into that place of love and gratitude as I move by those babies, might my experience on the plane be different? I think so. Because it's not about the little ones, right? It is about my approach, my mental thought to this situation. So it changes within me. And then it changes in my experience, because even if a child starts to cry out, I can smile to myself, remember that love, and I don't have that rubbing edge anymore. So we can make agreements every day, new agreements. Could we walk more gently on this earth? This week we celebrated Earth Day. Are there ways that we can move into agreement with Spirit, which is the overarching purpose of this talk, is that I want us to move into a divine agreement with Spirit. And so, how do we do that? Can we walk gentler on this earth? If we want to experience more friends, we can move into the second thought and be a better friend. Reach out. If I want more financial freedom, I can move into the second thought. And I can be in partnership with Spirit. I can support this center. I can volunteer. I can lean into that agreement with the Divine One and say yes. And you know what happens every time? The Divine One says, no problem. I respect our contractual agreement and I pour it back into you. That is the truth of this life experience. God always says yes. Do you want a loving and fulfilling partner? Step into that second thought. Make an agreement. Be a loving person. When we enter into these communal agreements with the divine, and then not only we make the agreement, we lean into it and take action. Spirit says, yes, my beloved, yes, and pours it in. Because remember, it's in our approach to life, right? Dr. Ernest Holmes said it, Waddell said it, it's in our approach to reality that we create the life we have. So if there's agreements that are not serving me, let's release them. If there's boundaries and agreements that are serving me, let's love them up and enforce and reinforce them. But just having the mental awareness about it and giving it focused time, allowing those neurons to fire together and wire together, we got to give it time, and that's practice. And so sometimes it might be that I can't see it for myself, but I want a new agreement. Go see a practitioner. We love to pray. And praying is focused attention and energy, focusing into that space to create our reality. Do I want to have more financial freedom and abundance? You can take a class here at the center. We offer lots of classes that enhance our life, freedom, love. Because it is truly God's great willingness and gift and pleasure to give us the kingdom. And it's available to us right now. So my hope is for this week that we reflect on the silent agreements that we have. If we just, I will be happy if we just think about all the stuff, the ways we make silent agreements, have an awareness about them, smile, maybe we do something about it, maybe we don't. But at least have the awareness of it, potentially move into making new agreements with ourselves, and hopefully saying yes to that divine agreement with Spirit. So I'd like to close with prayer, because I really feel that we could take this time, this moment, to think about all the agreements that we'd like to have. And so I'd ask that you just, settle in and place your attention to your heart space. Take a breath and deepen into that center of our being. Breathe it in and feel that feeling sense of God, that love, that power and presence that I call God. It is the divine intelligence that weaves itself, creates more of itself, loves more of itself into being in this life experience. I know that I am this love made manifest, and as I know this for myself, I know each beloved within the sound of my voice and beyond forevermore, each beautiful, individualized representations of God. And so I know that in this moment, there is awareness, there is an opening to all of the agreements that may not be serving us. And I make a vow here and now to realign my thinking, to open up to possibility, to say yes to the divine agreement with Spirit, to say yes to love, to say yes to abundance and freedom, to say yes to balance and peace and joy, all of the divine attributes of God that are present within us, as us, through us, that they are closer than breath, and we merely say yes to accepting them, to embodying them, and to bringing them forth in our experience. So I say yes to these new divine spiritual agreements. I say yes to allowing these to pour through and to create. And so I know that if there is anyone who is not feeling connected to that, who is feeling any sense of lack or any sense of limitation, I just know right here and right now that there is the divine yes at the center of their being. It merely needs to be acknowledged, to be opened up, and to touch into that place of God that resides at the center of all beingness. And so I claim this here and now. I say yes to these new agreements, knowing they unfold and make manifest the kingdom that is present right here, right now. And so with great gratitude for this truth of knowing, for this awareness, for this beingness, for saying yes, I am so grateful. And so I just pour these words into the power and action of the law, knowing as I say it, as I think it, it is done. Spirit only knows to say yes, yes, yes. And so it is. Amen. Thank you. And so let's bring John. Thank you.
I love that book.
It is good, isn't it?
It's a very good one. I'll echo that. I highly recommend it for those of you who've not experienced it yet. Or for those of you who have, revisit. It's wonderful.
If I could tell the world just one thing, it would be we're all okay. Not to worry, 'cause worry is wasteful and useless in times like these. Won't be made useless, won't be idle with despair. Gather myself around my faith, for light is the darkness most fear. My hands are small, I know, but they're not yours, they are my own. But they're not yours, they are my own, and we are never broken. Poverty stole your golden shoes, didn't steal your laughter. Heartache came to visit me, we knew it wasn't ever after. We'll fight, not out of spite, 'cause some of them stand up for what's right. Where there's a man who has no voice, there's our shall go singing. My hands are small, I know, but they're not yours, they are my own. But they're not yours, they are my own. And I am never broken. In the end, only kindness matters. In the end, only kindness matters. And I will get down on my knees, and I will pray. I will get down on my knees, and I will pray. I will get down on my knees, and I will pray. My hands are small, I know, but they're not yours, they are my own. But they're not yours, they are my own, and we are never broken. My hands are small, I know, but they're not yours, they are my own. But they're not yours, they are my own, and we are never broken. We are never broken. We are God's eyes, we are God's hands, we are God's heart, we are God's eyes, and we are God's hands, we are God's heart, yeah, we are God's heart, yeah, we are God's heart.
Oh, only kindness matters. Oh, thank you, John. Why don't you come on up? Oh, thank you, John. Okay, so some announcements for this Sunday morning. We have our online events are coming up and still happening. Our men's ministry is still meeting on Wednesdays with Reverend Michael. And you can contact him for any information, or this is all on our website, and it's all in the chat. Sisters in Spirit, our women's group, is meeting on the first and third Thursdays of the month. And you can always contact Practitioner Pam Migliosi. She can give you any information on that, and I'm sure she's in the chat as well. We're still continuing our Spiritual Connections at 7 series, which is our meditation, online meditation. We started it a year ago in March when we first went into the lockdown, and we're still continuing. And we're doing that at Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. And it's just a really nice way to take 15-20 minutes, jump on a Zoom, connect with one another, take some moment for mindful meditation and reflection. And it's a great way to start your day and then to end your day. So all that information is in the chat. We have a Zoom room information. Today, following service, we have a prayer room open up. So you want to break some of those agreements that we just talked about? Jump on the prayer chat on Zoom. Our practitioners will be on and ready, and they'll put you into a room together, a Zoom room together, where you can talk and pray together and break agreements or put some new agreements together. This afternoon, let me take just a second. This afternoon, we are celebrating the life of Dan Van Gerpen. So today on Zoom at 2 o'clock, we will be supporting his beloved Julie and the family as we remember the great gift that Dan is and was to our community. And so there will be a link in the Facebook chat how to get on the Zoom line for this afternoon. I miss Dan. So also coming up is we are looking for members, team members, to support our grand reopening. So our goal, our mission is to move back into community together on Sundays in a safe way. And we are looking for volunteers for our ambassador group. There's lots of ways to participate in supporting the center reopening. So you know what, folks, team? If you want to get back into this space and be back together again, which I know we all do, we need your help, okay? We need volunteers. We need to get back re-engaged with one another with volunteer groups, because it takes a lot on a Sunday to get the service ready. And so we would just be so grateful if you could reach out. If you're interested, you want to be in agreement with the divine and say yes to life, service is a wonderful way to do that. So that is an opportunity. And so we need ambassadors, we need sound team, we need the tech team. If any of those skill sets speak to you, you can contact Reverend Catherine, and she would be just overjoyed to hear from you. So I hope you can support us. Mother's Day is coming up, all the moms out there, myself included. We are looking to collect warm wishes and shout outs for the moms. So do you want to celebrate a mom in your life? Wonderful. Email Reverend Catherine at reverendcatherine@csltv.org. It's in the chat. And send a shout out to a beloved mom in your life. We would love to do that on Mother's Day. All right. I think that's all of our announcements that we have this morning. So I think we're going to move into our release song. So we are ready to finish up for this Sunday morning together.
There was a time in my life I thought I had to do it all myself. Didn't know the grace of God was sufficient. Didn't know the love of God was at hand. Now I can say that if you are discouraged, struggling just to make it through another day, you got to let it go, let it all go. And this is what you have to say: I release and I let go. Let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only for God. No more struggle, no more strife. In my faith I see the light. I am free in spirit. Yes, I'm only for God. I release and I let go. Let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God.
So thank you for being here today in community. Thank you to all of our beloveds here that support this service. And I know as we move out into this week that we break those old agreements that are not serving us, and that we say yes with that divine handshake with Spirit to say yes to life, yes to the fullness, yes to the freedom. And so it is. Amen.